Welcome to chapter 3 of this section. In this section, we're going to go through how to calculate interest and the math behind simple and compound interest calculations. To calculate interest, you need three different numbers. So you have the interest, the principal, and the length of the term in years. If you increase any of these factors, you're going to be paying more in interest. And if you decrease them, you're going to pay less interest. So let's say, for example, you had a loan for $100 and you paid 20% interest on it. After 1 year, you'd owe $20. After 2 years, you'd owe $40. After 3 years, you'd owe $60. Let's say instead of 20%, you have 10%. See how that number drops? Instead of 60 you're paying only $30 in interest. After 3 years, the amount of interest that you paid halved. Right? So this is called simple interest. In this case, your interest amount doesn't accumulate interest, only the principal does. So in this case, you have 10% for 3 years of $100 gives you $30 in interest. On the other hand, when you have compound interest, the main difference here is that compound interest accumulates interest on top of the interest that you accumulate. So let's say, for example, in this case, we have a $100 loan at 10%. After 3 years, instead of $30, you'd have owed $33.10. After, let's say on this side, on the simple interest side, you have after 10 years, you pay $100 in interest. The compound interest side, you'd pay $159 in interest. So the only difference here is that on the compound interest calculation, the interest that you earn is also accumulating interest. So keep in mind that I'm talking about when you're earning it, but you could also have to pay this. So let's say you have a credit card. Your credit card, generally credit cards charge around 20% or a little bit more than that sometimes. So after 10 years, if you borrow $100 and you don't pay anything on it, this isn't actually how credit cards work. You have to pay a minimum payment, and that keeps your balance below, it stops your balance from increasing. But in this case, let's say you don't even touch it. After 10 years, you would have paid $519 in interest on a $100 loan. This is how banks make money from you. They use your lack of financial literacy to take advantage of you because you don't know that this is what's happening. It may not happen on this big of a scale, but let's say after a year, you're paying $20 in interest. That's $20 that could have gone towards something else. This is how the charts increase. So this here is linear growth. This is simple interest. Simple interest, because you're not paying interest on the interest, it grows in a straight line. On the compound interest side, because you're earning interest on interest, it grows exponentially. So this is how your credit card would increase over time. So let's say you owe $100. The interest that you pay on the interest that you pay is going to keep increasing over time. So this is basically the trap that credit card companies and banks get you into by getting you to borrow small amounts. Even small amounts can compound over time. So that's money that you can't put towards your own financial freedom for the future. And instead, you're just giving it to the bank and getting them to pay their employees, get their huge bonuses. So what this shows is that the reward for delaying gratification for a longer period is much better. So let's say instead of borrowing this money, you invested it in something and you earned 10% or 5%. Over the long term, this is exactly what's going to happen for you. So I'll give you that example. So let's say you earn 10% on a $100 investment. After 20 years, you'll have $572. And let's say you, instead of $100, you invest $1,000. On $1,000 after 10 years, after 20 years, you'll have almost $6,000. Almost $7,000. Right? So either you can have the interest work on your behalf, or you can have interest work against you and completely destroy your finances.